Boom, we're back. 126th edition of the Quarantinecast. I am joined by Mike Jackson, UFC welterweight, who was briefly scheduled to return in January to face Dean Barry, but it looks like that's being pushed. I have him on. We're going to talk a little bit about his layoff, obviously his fight against CM Punk and Mickey Gall, as well as what's next for him in 2021. Hey man, how's it going?
It's going well. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for taking the time to jump on. So brand new year, man. Are you excited for 2021?
Yeah, of course, man. It's a new year for me. I kind of live day by day as it is, but I'm definitely excited to see um, what's in store for us.
How was your 2020? For a lot of people, it was chaotic. Obviously, a lot of stuff going on in the United States, plus the pandemic, which kind of left a lot of people sidelined. So what was it like for you?
Um, for me, I was at home a lot. It was a lot of cabin fever. Obviously there's the racial tension going on. That's depressing in itself, just seeing all the crazy shit. But really, my life didn't change too much because me, primarily, I work from home outside of going to the gym. The biggest thing for me though was the traveling. All that stopped, and then for me primarily, I cover events, cover MMA fights, cover jiu-jitsu super fights, and because the events cancellation, so I had none of that. So for me, it was just a lot of Groundhog's Day. The same thing. It was kind of repetitive, but I was grateful for the moment because it was a great reflecting time for me. It was a time to reset, let my body heal, let my mind heal, and really focus on the future. And I was able to do that during this time. And I see a lot of upward mobility with the brand and things like that coming here starting soon.
Yeah, I'm reading George St. Pierre's book. I should have read it years ago, but I'm reading it now. And one of the things that they said is the reason why GSP was so ahead of its time was because of his ability to adapt. I think 2020 really made a lot of us do that. Do you agree with that?
I do. I mean, you have to. I mean, that's part of evolution in itself, and the people, and that's kind of the people who are kind of stuck in their ways and they lack this ability to adapt. They kind of want to keep the traditions alive and things like that. Outside, it's good to have tradition. I feel. I think it's more so the memories and the pictures, but when you try to live your life with this almost archaic mindset, I think that hinders you. Evolution is a good thing. We have to evolve with time because everything else is evolving. And I think us as a people, we have to evolve, and we're not here to stay stagnant. We're here to gain knowledge and pass it on to future generations. And if you just stay in this archaic, mindset where there's no growth, then nothing comes from that. You stay in this just stagnant kind of mindset and stagnant reality. And I'm not about that. I'm about growth, man, and seeing what's out there.
So that being said, 2020 is now behind us. What's your mindset going into 2021, both on a personal note as well as a fighting on a fighting perspective?
Man, for me, growth is the primary key. But also, one thing that I've realized is that I do have a gift of knowledge and to help people out, and that's one thing that I've been doing. I find that I've had a lot of conversations with people, especially during the quarantine, and I've helped give people a different perspective on life. And so, for me, I want to continue to push that narrative of growth. I want to continue to help others grow, with my platform. So that's really the main goal and the mission. Now, I have a crazy way of doing things, so the things that I do is going to have a little Mike the Truth spin on it. But people who know me and who rock with me, they know what to expect. So we have some dope things in the making.
So you were briefly scheduled to face Dean Barry. I'm not really sure I guess if that's being rebooked or what's
Yeah,
happening with that
yeah.
fight. But
It was just a scheduling thing. It was nothing. That's it. It was just trying to get things to happen going out here to Fight Island. My life is a little chaotic, so things just didn't work out as I had planned or anticipated to. So yeah, we're just gonna have to get the fight pushed back. But look, man, it's all it is just pushing the schedule back. Nothing else is gonna change. We have the same mindset going to the fight, same game plan, and look, it's the same exciting fight. We're just gonna get it a little bit later now. But yeah, outside of that, nothing's changed, man. Just the date and the location.
so that will be held in the United States,
Yeah,
or is it?
it'll be in. Well, I'm just gonna assume it's gonna be in Vegas, either Fight Island or Vegas. So it'll probably be or it'll be a Vegas thing coming here in the next few months.
I like it. So, what's your thoughts on the matchup? I mean, I think a lot of people were surprised when it was first announced, but what's your thoughts on Dean Barry as an opponent? Obviously, he's a 45er, so you've got a little bit of a size
Is he a
advantage.
45er? Damn, I didn't. You're the second person. I knew he was he had competed 55, and then I did hit some catch weights at 65. But 45, man, I didn't know that. Man, that sucks for him. That's really all I got on that. As far as the matchup, it's styles make fights, and I think this is an exciting matchup that's going to be very receptive to the fans. They're going to receive this very well, just because a lot of the fans nowadays, they like these striking matchups and exciting fights, and I feel that both of our styles together is going to make for some crazy just. I don't want to say violence and things like that because just based off our styles, but you're just going to see some cool shit. I can definitely guarantee that there's going to be some ooh-ah moments in the fight from my side, from his side, just given our styles. So I feel the matchup is what the fans like to see, and so we got to give the fans what they want.
I think, I mean, I'll speak for myself here. I think when your name was announced that you would be facing him, a lot of us were like, oh, wow, he's still like, we weren't sure if you were cut, if you were still in the UFC or what was going on. So could you kind of shed some light there on that two-year layoff and what exactly, what was the reason for such a long layoff?
Well, first, yeah, USADA just showed up this morning. So, yeah, I'm definitely still on the roster. That's the other thing is like, I think that people who didn't know that I was on the roster simply just don't follow me or they don't know anything about me as far as social media. If you are a glimpse on my social media at the Truth Jackson on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, you get a glimpse of that. And so you've known what's up, man. You get the USADA visits, you get the PI, you get the training, you get UFC events, you get all these things, right? But as far as me, I was actually going to fight on the Argentina card. I was offered a fight back at the end of 2018. Preparing that fight, I got injured. And so it was really just wanting to recover and wanting to be optimal. Like I said, I spent a lot of time out at the PI out in Vegas. I'm trained when I go out to Vegas. I train with the guys at Syndicate. So on this time off, I get knowledge from different gyms and coaches. I'm at the PI getting this scientific look at my body and a scientific approach to fighting. And then again, I'm just traveling. And when I'm traveling, I get to go and train and gain knowledge from just high quality gyms around the country. Then I'm at fights. I'm shooting for LFA. I'm shooting for Fury Fighting here in Texas. I'm doing the Submission Hunter Jiu-Jitsu super fights. So for me, I'm staying active, staying busy, staying in the sport because, I mean, first of all, it's a sport that I love. I love MMA, but I love combat sports as an entirety. And my life revolves around that. So for me, it's just being involved, using my platform to help these other competitors grow and get their names out there. It's just a lot, man. I have my hands in a lot of things trying to, again, growing the Mike the Truth brand and using that platform to help others grow as well.
I watched another interview of yours, and did I hear you're training with Austin Trout? Is that correct?
Well, we train at the same gym. So I train at Main Street Boxing, and it's a boxing that or it's a gym that has a lot of world champions. Lou Savarese is part owner of the gym, as well as my coach Bob Perez. So we get world champion boxers. We get guys like Austin Trout's in there. Regis Prograis is there. We have this kid named Austin Williams. They call him Ammo Williams. He's like 4-5-0. He's like one of the top prospects in boxing right now. He's there. Miguel Flores. We just got a number. Jenny Fuchs. I can go on just a list of just top guys, and then we have that on the MMA side as well. But to your point, yeah, Austin Trout is at the gym. I haven't trained with him though. I've just been in the same. He doing his thing on the boxing side, and I'm doing my thing, whether it be on the MMA or kickboxing side.
How significant is it to make sure you're getting those boxing looks? Like a lot of guys only train primarily with MMA fighters. Do you think it's important to make sure you're getting a feel of, strictly boxing guys like Austin Trout, for example?
Yeah, well, it really depends on what your style is, right? Because I don't think everything is for everyone. For me, I get a lot of my training is boxing heavy, and that boxing is a love of mine and a passion. I'm probably getting so I work out with the amateur boxing team like twice a week, and then I'll go in there and just spar for an hour. So that's me in the middle, and I'll get like the guys will get like 3 rounds at a time. So for me, I'm getting about anywhere from 10 to 15 rounds on those days. I'm getting 20 to 30 rounds a week, just straight boxing. And then I'll mix in the other rounds as far as like MMA or, kickboxing and things like that. But I think given what your style of fighting is, I think that's a part of the fighting game that people don't really like focus on, because it's really like, oh, you're doing MMA, you should just learn everything, which is true, but you have to know how to prioritize what you're learning. And if you're not like, I think if you're like, let's say you're a jiu-jitsu guy who's getting into fighting and you're trying to learn some boxing, or really is learning how to get hit, because you're going to get hit in boxing, I think it's a smart thing to do, right? Because you're trying to learn that aspect of fighting. You're trying to learn how to throw punches properly, how to roll with punches and not get hit flush, working on defense. But it gets to a point, like if you have a guy who is, let's say, a striker, but he's really heavy on his kicks, right? Should he take boxing to work on his hand? Yes. But he's probably going to focus more on the kickboxing side, because that's where he feels comfortable with, and he's really good at it. And if he's trying to get good at boxing, then sure, you're going to have to bring it more. But if it's just for training, I think you want to limit those areas. Like for me, for this fight, although I train in jiu-jitsu and wrestling, I'm not doing it as heavy for this fight, because the chances of it hitting the ground, if we trip or fumble or something, man, like this is going to be a striking match. So for me, although I'm training ground just to anything can happen, and then I just want to train that aspect of fighting, I'm not very strong on it at the moment.
When when you have your background and when you're training with those guys, when Barry goes out and says he's gonna earn that $50K by knocking you out, do you feel a little bit disrespected by that?
Not at all. I don't take it personally. Like that's what it's supposed to say. Like we're fighting. Like at the end of the day, that's what we're doing. Like we're fighting. Like I'm not expecting him to say, "Yeah, I'm gonna go out here and win a decision over Mike." I'm expecting him to come out and look for the finish, just as he should expect I'm coming out looking for the finish. So, no, I don't take anything these guys say personal. Whether it's the fighters, whether it's these trolls on the internet, like it's nothing personal. I do take to account though, given that we're in the fighting sport, and Buddy put out 50,000 hit on you, mans. I do take that, like from a fighter's perspective, I take that personal. And he gonna have to own up to that. and we gonna handle it. Whenever that date gets signed, we gonna make it happen. And it's just I don't see him getting the knockout. I just can't see it.
I want to talk about your obviously your last fight. I mean, a lot of eyes were on that. Well, probably a lot more eyes than on this one, simply because you were fighting a guy named CM Punk, who everyone was familiar with in the WWE world. What was it like going out there and getting a win under the UFC banner?
I mean, it was nothing to me. It was cool, little experience. I mean, I have a different mentality, and I look at this just a little bit different than the other people do. So I don't have the same uh things don't attract me to it, right? So like the going out and getting UFC win, like it's cool, but like I don't have the same feeling like as some other people would getting like they're in their moment, like they're oh my god, this really happened. Like for me, it's not that. Like it was like all right, cool, what's next? For me. So the moment itself, it was more the experience. Going out to Chicago, doing the press. I was going through some pictures yesterday, looking for something to post, and like I brought my photographer out there for the Chicago card, and I ended up doing like an interview with somebody while getting a pedicure. You know what I'm saying? Actually, I need to go get my nails done here pretty soon. But yeah, like things like that. Talking to shorties on the corner, just like out of Chicago randomly. It was just a cool moment. So for me, it's more so about the overall experiences than just that one singular moment.
As someone who's fought a guy who transitioned into this sport, he did it a little bit more respectfully than some other people are currently doing it. Guys like Jake Paul, for example, when you see guys like that kind of coming in and entering the sport and almost in a way making a mockery of everything that you've worked for, everything that guys like Conor McGregor have worked for. Does it bother you when you see them kind of doing that and calling guys out that they really have no business calling out?
Not at all. And that's the thing. Like, I don't look at it as any of that. Like, people put when people give it all that talk and that credit, then yeah, I see why people get all riled up. But at the end of it, like it's none of that. Like it's like these people are in their own lane, right? And I actually show the dude respect because as far as his willingness to go, because I feel what he's doing, it's actually the right way. What's happening though is that because he is this personality, then he's going to draw more attention than someone else. And at the end of the day, Jake Paul and his brother, they're amateur level boxers, but they're doing it the right way, and they're fighting the competition. Look, when the KSIs and the Nate Robinsons, I've seen that at a professional level. I've seen that exact thing, but the only difference is that we have the Jake Paul who has this huge following and who's having people buy the pay-per-views to watch, right? It's boxing, and it's not taking away from the sport. It's just this niche little thing. The only downside, which you did mention, was the disrespect from him calling out like actual fighters. But that's what they do. Like from their perspective, like that's their way of marketing what they're doing. Look, he's never gonna fight the Conor McGregor's and like the Floyd Mayweather thing is kind of cool with that, with the exhibit. And let's take that, right? You have it where like people mad at that. What are you mad for? First of all, if you don't like it, just don't watch it. Like that's literally that simple. If you don't like it, don't watch it. But people are gonna watch it, right? And they're watching it because they're attracted. They want to see what's gonna happen. We all know what's gonna happen. We know. I knew what was gonna happen with the Floyd and McGregor thing, but we all watched it, right? We all knew this guy, Conor McGregor. Like, here's the thing. Like, first of all, in MMA, there's this misconception about what boxing is. Like, MMA is MMA, and boxing is, and I compete in both sports. I've trained heavily in both, and they're almost night and day as far as sports go. Like, there are differences. And when you see Conor McGregor just with his style is going against Mayweather, you're like, yo, this is Like, there's no chance because, and then there's no chance given that this dude is arguably the greatest defensive. Like, that's the main thing, though, is the defense in boxing and MMA. It's two different styles. But then you're taking arguably the greatest defensive fighter and putting him in there with someone who isn't a boxer. Like, it just doesn't make sense. So when you add like the Jake Pauls or whatever the Paul brothers is doing against Floyd, that's cool. And you have it now where they brought in Ben Askren. Like, we all know Ben Askren has as far as his boxing goes is non-existent, right? But here's the thing. Ben Askren is an actual fighter. He may not be a good boxer, but he's an actual fighter. And he's fought at the highest level. Now, has he boxed at the highest level? No. But to say that Ben Askren has never sparred boxing or trained boxing, that's silly to even think that. Mm-hmm. So, given that we now have Ben Askren fighting one of the Paul brothers who is training, they're competing in boxing, and one of these guys has been consistently training in boxing for several years, two or 3 years, I'm assuming. I'm not saying Ben Askren has a shot at winning because of his boxing, but Ben Askren definitely has a shot of winning just based off of him being an actual fighter. I'm still picking the Paul brother to watch him, though, because it's not an MMA fight, right? Yeah. So wrapping all to come back what you said, at the end of the day, I don't think it's bad. I think it's actually a good thing because it's bringing eyes to the sport, and it's in its own little niche market, and it's not hurting anybody.
As someone who's kind of who fought someone who brought a lot of eyes to the sport in CM Punk, is that something you'd be open to doing? Like, bring them all on. Bring on Jake Paul, KSI, it doesn't matter.
Hey, if you know what I thought about, maybe that's me. Maybe that's my role, and I'm cool with that because if I'm the dude who just gets to tune up the guys who really think this is what they're about, because that's how people look at me. They like, oh, this dude don't really train, or he's not a fighter, this, that, and the other. Man, I've been fighting and I've been training this sport for damn near 13 years in April. I've trained with the highest level of guys. I can fight, you know what I'm saying? And that's cool, though. I'm glad that people look at me as someone who's just a photographer or a journalist or a podcast or whatever the hell they look at me as. That doesn't bother me because at the end of the day, when I step in the ring or the cage, I have to display my talent one way or the other. I'm either going to get knocked out or I'm going to knock somebody out, right? So what they say doesn't matter. It's just about what my actual abilities are, you know?
All right, I'll ask you one last question, then I'll let you go. It's Saturday night, so I know I'm sure you've got things to do. Big fight coming up in January, Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier. Obviously, we saw the fight happen years ago, different weight class, different fighters. How do you think it plays out this time around?
Man, I'm excited about this. Crazy because I remember when all the whole fights were announced, I was hoping that I was on because I heard they were kind of pushing that fight around the same date. And I was hoping to get on it because my second amateur fight was on a Dustin Poirier undercard in Louisiana. And this was 2008, actually, like November 2008. It was a Dustin Poirier undercard. So I was excited about it. With a possibility of getting, but then I was on the whole weekend, right? But with all of that, Dustin's been more active in MMA, and we've seen the progression of him as far as him as a complete fighter, him and as well as his growth. We don't have that same grasp on Conor. We know what he's done in the instances he's shown the world, but we don't see how I don't want to say ring rust because for him, everybody's different. So I don't want to say he has it, but we don't know how he's improved. We've seen how Dustin has improved. We've seen how he's gotten better and how he's definitely going to look at this. He's going to take this fight. He's going to have a different outlook and different vision for this fight than he did in the previous one. So for me, it's hard not to go with Dustin, and then he got some delicious hot sauce that we just caught, the Diamond Poirier Louisiana hot sauce, which is delicious. So I'm riding with Dustin in this one. And look, I'm a Conor fan, but I feel that with Dustin's growth, he'll be able to take this one.
All right. Is there any last words here? Any sponsors you want to thank, or any social media you'd like to plug before before I let you go?
Follow me all social medias at the Truth Jackson. Man, we just here for the shits and giggles. That's it. And stay tuned for the fight announcement.
All right, man. I can't wait. I've been a fan of yours for a while, and it's good to see that you're back out there. And I can't wait to watch the fight.
Man, thank you for having me, and I appreciate that support.
There we go, Mike Jackson. Obviously, like we talked about, he had a huge win last time out against CM Punk. It's been 2.5 years since we've seen him. I can't wait for this next fight. If you haven't, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and make sure you check out all of his social media. Till then.